things around everywhere. One of them had one in their bed and they couldn't find it, and then the cow got back to Pennsylvania. In her woman, that's what made me think of that. Sorry.
Oh, no.
That's something you don't want to bring back to the States either.
That's right. Hope they killed it.
They had two individuals, and I guess I wasn't paying attention to the pastor at the beginning, which is bad. But he was talking about the children's home they opened in Kentucky. Anybody ever hear of that? Or Open Door Children's Home?
I've heard the open door.
Yeah, these two Christians, I think in California, had a pretty good life, was making pretty good money and so forth. And their daughter heard about this opportunity to open up to go to Kentucky and teach Bible in schools. And they wanted to do something, I guess, a little more meaningful with their lives. So they left and went out to Kentucky. And in the process, they realized there was a great need for these children. For example, there was one story they were telling about a individual working in a coal mine. His wife died, and I think he had a total 11. Well, she eventually died, but they had a total 11 children, and 5 or 6 of them had passed away. Not very good conditions, I guess, or so forth. And she was in her deathbed, and they were going to her side, and she asked him if they would take the children when she passed away. And they because she knew he worked in a coal mine all day, there was no way he could take care of these children. It's a lot different than now, where we got all these social services to kind of help out. And so they took those children. They ended up with a total of 200 children. And the government came in, I guess one time, didn't really tell them why they came in, and they fed them, and treated them to dinner and so forth. And they took a tour of the facility, and I suppose they were wondering why the government was coming in. And after the war ended, I guess they had a lot of the food left over. And I guess what the War Department, I think, is what they referred to it as back then. They would look for places so this food could go to. So they gave them the food, and they were cooking for this 200 children on this small stove. And somehow this miracle worker, she was able to whip together food for all of them. But part of what came from the war was a coal stove. And so, yeah, it was just a very heartwarming. And two of the people that I believe attended that, like I say, I should have been paying attention during the start of it. I would have got a lot more out of it. They were there, so it was interesting. But yeah, it's interesting hearing about missionary stories and things people do. Okay. Now just to introduce myself. I'm, of course, David Hayes. I teach computer science here at Cali, a little bit of mathematics, married with three children. My youngest is 19 now, so they're all grown up. And I guess that's I don't lead a very exciting life besides work. So if you want to go around, just say your name, and if you want to share some information, that's fantastic. Now, did you bring your own computer? Okay, that's fine. I was gonna pull that out of the way if you needed the room. So.
Everybody needs a train ride. Come down to the picnic in the park tonight, and I'll give you a train ride.
Now, just to get a gauge, who's never used Excel? So, never has used it. Okay, so a few, that's fine. Oh, and you wrote down the Facebook page. The page itself You'll see links out here. Like if you missed the word one or you need to hear it again, here's part 3. Here's part 2 and part 1. And then it also goes back to all the other workshops I've ever done since started this. And so if you want to know about a particular computer topic, they're out there. Now, as I go through and you have questions, be sure to ask. I love questions. There are no bad questions. If you're trying to learn the material, then every question is valid. I had a math class one time where one question got asked 3 times. And the third time it was asked, I didn't get impatient. Sometimes you just need to hear it again. You need to process it, and so that's no problem. I think in 25 years' time, I've only got mad at one student, so that's pretty good statistics. And I shouldn't have got mad at him. I still feel bad that to this day. Guy just as sweet as can be. Name's Cole Mills, and he went through Cali, and he had brain tumors when he was young, and had 3 surgeries, I think, to remove them. In the process of removing them, they destroyed his short-term memory. So he would ask you the same question over and over. And one day I just couldn't take it. I said, Cole, don't ask me anymore. Come and see me in my office. And bless his heart, if you think about learning where you have no short-term memory, he worked harder, I think, than any student I've ever had. He asked if I'd meet with him, and I said, yeah, I'll come in at 7 o'clock if you can come in. And he never missed one time. I missed 3. I overslept twice and forgot once. But bless his heart, he never missed one time. He went to tutoring every night, 3 hours tutoring. He got through college algebra, got through stats. Had his own business. I think he's working at Spirit now. I'm not telling you anything personal, he's told everybody this, so there's no violation of HIPAA, I don't think. Now, this is the interface for Excel. Does everybody have Excel open? On mine, I held down my control key and then I moved the little red mouse wheel. Also, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see where it says 100%. You can do those slide bar. On the bottom right-hand corner, it'll say like a certain percent. I guess not. That's strange. No percent there, is there?
Let's see here.
Hold that in control key. And then what we'll do is this is the mouse wheel. And that's
Yeah, hold your control key and hold your. You have your mouse down.
yeah. That's on 200% there. It's working. It's working. It should be down in this corner. Strange. If we see anything else or anything else, you have to another computer. That percent you see is right here. Mine says 205%.
Yeah.
It should be to the right of those that you have there, but I don't see how you can get to the right of it. There it is. It's like over here in this one. Well, there's his max on. So if it's maximized, well, we found another way. That's the neat part about Excel, is there's more than one way to get to those options.
Click on it.
I hit control home.
That'll work. Click on it. So what?
Control home.
Hold that.
It's
It's on my keyboard, it's on number 7, but I don't know where it is on yours.
it's on you see where the 0 is. You go up and to the right.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, hold down on control and hit home. Your other hand, okay. But I guess you have to put your cursor here. Yeah, click on the spec. Now try control, home. There you go. Good job.
Now, each one of these is a cell. So we got this right here. If you ever play that game Battleship, where you put your ships down and they call A5, and you look at the intersection of A and 5, and you put the little peg in there. Red if you hit it, white if you miss it, I think. I don't know. It's been so long. That's the way Excel refers to these. So this first cell right here is A1, the intersection of A and 1. If I come down here and I click in this cell, this is the intersection of D and 4. Now, when you click on these, it also changes the reference up here in the upper left-hand corner. If you see where the paste is in the upper left-hand corner, then it says D4 right there. So if you're not quite sure what cell you're on, if you look up in that, it'll tell you. Now this is so that if we do some kind of calculation, that we can add those numbers together of whatever's in those cells. So you have to have some way to refer to them. Now you have sheets down here. You see where there's a sheet 1? You can double click that. So this is the bottom left-hand corner. You see where it says sheet 1? Go ahead and double click that, and it should become gray. Now type some new name like budget. And then press enter. And so you can change it to whatever you want, sort of. There are limitations. It doesn't like certain characters, but it'll squawk at you if you do something like that. And then you just get rid of that weird character you put in. You see there's a little plus right next to it. And I wish I could make this part bigger, but unfortunately it can't. If I click that plus, it'll put a new sheet on there. You can almost think of this as like you have sheets in maybe a ledger, where you flip it. This is my budget for January, next one's budget for February, and so forth. You can have as many as you want. I can double click sheet 2. And maybe this will be sales. So type sales and press that. This makes it a lot more user-friendly. So if you're creating a spreadsheet for somebody else to use, or even for yourself to remember later on, you know where to go to get your budget information. Now I know it won't appear like it, but if you've got sales picked here, it's outlined in white. If you click budget, it'll outline it in white. It doesn't look like it maybe changed very much because you have nothing there.
Click on the sheet. I've already got sheet 3.
Oh.
And sheet 2. There, I got it.
Yeah. Now, if you want to change something about these, like if I'm over here in sales, if you right click on the sales, it'll bring up a menu that's unique to that particular task. And that's true anywhere in Windows. So if you're using a Windows package and you're not quite sure what you're doing, right click on whatever you're working with, and it'll try to bring up something that's very specific to just that item you have right clicked on. In this case, you see there's an insert, so that's another way to insert a sheet. There's a delete, so if you want to delete a sheet, you can do that. There's a rename here.
Excuse me, that delete that whole sales sheet?
Yes. Takes it away. There's a move or copy. That's as if you got let's say you got a budget sheet for January, and you got it perfect. All the totals are there and everything, and you want to have one for each month. You don't want to sit there and recreate it for February, March, and all the other months. That's where you can use that copy feature. So, and after we have something more meaningful, we can practice copying it to see how that goes. Good question. I'm not sure if I ever tried. Let me delete sales. Now, no undo. I guess not. How about if I do a control Z? Let me see. Nope, you delete it, it's gone, I guess. Now, the nice part about Windows is, though, if you have not saved it, you close this, don't save, and open it back up, and it's back there. So it's not permanently deleted until you actually click your save button. So.
You lost it. Okay, I want to delete it.
Oh, you want to delete it? Okay.
Now, what do I do if I close it?
Oh, you mean to get it back?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to save it first,
Oh,
and we haven't saved it. So, but if you had saved it, what you do is you close it, and when it asks you, do you want to save your changes, you'd say no, and then you just open it back up.
okay.
And we can look at that. Go ahead and save your document, and how we do that, and all the Office products are this way. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, there's a file. There's about 3 ways to save, maybe more than that. If you click the file, that's right up here in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a save option. And if you click the save, now this will have some different information than potentially you have on your computer if you brought it in. So don't stress about that. Hopefully you see either a browse or this PC. If not, I'll come take a look, see what yours says.
Just like computer?
Does yours say computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different on every computer, it seems like. I'm going to choose this PC, and I'm going to choose documents.
This PC.
This PC. Mm-hmm. Is it not?
Oh,
Oh, you're already there. See over on the right, not click documents. Perfect. Now, documents in Windows is your main folder where you store everything. And we won't create any folders or anything today, but we're going to give it a name. Book 1 is not very meaningful. I'm very bad about not giving it meaningful names. And I'll come in 6 months from now and it's like, what did I call that? And I'll spend forever. So it really is worthwhile giving it a name. You can say sales and budget for 2017. Doesn't like special characters. Now, where I type that at is, you see where it says file name? That's where I type that at. I try to put exclamation mark, if I wouldn't like it. Periods probably wouldn't like, but just those should be fine. And I click save.
It did accept my and.
Oh, the and symbol. Every once in a while, I have somebody will send me a spreadsheet that they've saved kind of weird and with a different weird names, and I have to rename it before I can actually open it. So. Now, if you haven't already created a sheet, go ahead and create a new sheet. So click that plus down there. That plus down here in the bottom left-hand corner. And then click up here in any cell, it doesn't matter where, and type, "This is important information." And if you don't get it exactly like that, it doesn't matter. Just type something. Now, first off, this is important information right here, right? And I put it in mine in AA1. You might have put yours in a different place. Wherever you put it, click that cell. So you just left mouse click in the middle of that cell. And you should see a little black box appear around it. That tells you you've selected that cell. You just click whichever cell you put your information in. Yeah. Now press your delete key. The delete key is in the upper right-hand corner. It's on mine, it's the fifth from the right. And that deleted your information, didn't it?
Yeah.
Now, for most of items in Excel, and this is a fantastic tool that's available in about all Windows packages, there's an undo. So if we mess up, we can undo. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, you see this little arrow going backwards? Click that, and you should see your text appear again. You see it? Is it not up there? Yeah, this one has the zoom. And no, this isn't you. This isn't you. Not anyway.
My internet will come through. Over here, it's like, everything else.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you don't need the internet.
Yeah, but you got.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The greatest. Mine's one down.
There we go. Maybe you don't want that right. Okay, so now down here, put that plus. Zoom. And keep pushing. Now it's making it bigger and bigger. Now click A1. Type something in there. There you go. And press enter. So now click A1 again. And then we're going to press our delete. Now click that arrow. Didn't have it. I apologize for that. I don't know what's with that computer. Some of those items are always there. I don't know how you even get rid of them. But there's during the year there's students in programming that are using those, and they're doing all kinds of weird things on these computers. So, okay, that's how you undo. And this is, by the way, if you're using any kind of package, that is invaluable to remember. It'll undo if you make a mistake. On some web pages, if you've typed a big long document and then you delete it by accident, Control Z will oftentimes bring that back. That's like on a web page where you're filling in a blank. I was taking a test before class. I volunteered through a TEALS organization to work with a high school in their computer science program, and I'm having to go through this class. I'm filling out this test, and I've typed a whole bunch of information, and for some reason it's just flowing today. I just must be full of useless information. Sometimes it just struggles, doesn't getting those words out. And I'm thinking, this is fantastic. And then I was alt-tabbing over to see reference when I'm supposed to write on next, and it kind of hung up. And it did something really weird because I pushed the wrong keys. And I'm sitting there, oh my God, I hope it didn't lose everything. I didn't. But if I had, I would do a Control Z to see if I could get it back. So now, a lot of packages just have that built in where they'll have this option up here to undo. Not every one, though. See, I don't know if just to demonstrate it. And it doesn't work on every page either, so this would be kind of just a guess. I'm going to go to Cali College. I'm going to, maybe, there it goes. I'm going to apply so I can go to Cali College. Apply now, start new application. And like I say, I haven't tried this, so it may or may not work. Missions application. Click here to start filling out this application. David, go down here. Let's see. I did a backspace to delete that, and then I did a Control Z and I put it back. Now up here, there is no undo. That's a refresher page. If I had I know that wasn't very meaningful. It's like, well, can't you just retype David? But imagine instead of one word there, you had 2 paragraphs you typed in. Your essay to apply, and so forth, and you delete it by accident. Just as long as you haven't left a page, if you do Control Z, it undoes it. Now, I don't know if it's got any kind of history to it. Let's see, David, George. Okay, so let me delete that, and delete that. So let me do a Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. And I guess it does have a history. So even if the package doesn't appear like it has that undo feature, it might. Now there's also a redo feature. So if you undo something and then you want to redo it, then you can do that. Go ahead and delete that information again. You add it in. And now if you click the undo, it's there. But then you notice right beside it, the redo is there. So if you choose the redo, that'll get rid of it. What I had to do first is I came here and I deleted this. And then after you delete that, you undo it. And then you should see the redo.
Okay.
And that allows you to go back and forth.
Okay.
Because this does keep a history. So if you delete 10 items in Excel and you want to undo all those, you can undo them. But if you go back too far, then you can do the redo to back up. Okay. Now, the reason I had you save it, and I don't think yours is safe because I give you a new computer. So go ahead and on yours do a file and choose save. You can if you want, because we're going to delete it and show about that. Now we're going to go wild here. These sheets down here, go ahead and right click when you have open and choose delete. And it says you want to permanently delete this sheet, delete. Right click the next one, choose delete. It won't let you delete this one, I don't think. Let me try it. Must contain at least one visible worksheet. Okay, now I've realized I messed up. I deleted those. There is no undo up here, is there? You want to make sure you don't save it. But now if you did a file, and I'm clicking the file in the upper left-hand corner, and you choose close, it'll come up and ask you if you want to save your changes. At this point, don't save it. Now if you do file, and under open, under recent, you should see the one you just had open. And if you click that one, see, I didn't get mine back. I guess I didn't save it after I did the changes. You got yours back, though? Well, in theory, if I had saved it after I put the important information in there, I would have it back. But that was in response to your question. You know, what happens if we can't undo deleting a sheet or perhaps other items, too. Okay. Now, you can zoom by this bottom right-hand corner. That's one way. It's easier for me to hold down my control key and move that little mouse wheel, the red mouse wheel in the middle. And when you move it, when I say move it, you just kind of scroll with it. It'll make it bigger or smaller. That's a very fast way to control that. Is yours working on the control? Hold on. That way you can make whatever side you need to be able to see. Now, there's also up here, these are across the top. It says File, Home, Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review, View, and Team. You may not have all those options, depending upon your version of Excel. But I suspect you'll have View, hopefully. If you click View, you'll also see the Zoom feature here. And if you click this Zoom here, it allows you, pops up this window, and allows you to put in a custom Zoom, where you can type in a number, or you can choose 200%, 100%, or whatever, and then click OK. So Microsoft tries to provide different ways of zooming. If you told me there's a keystroke that would zoom, I think it's Control Plus, maybe? I don't remember. Does it work on yours?
No, it works online though. Reading
Oh,
something.
does it? Yeah.
Like if I'm reading a news story and I want to enlarge it, I just put Control Plus and
It does then.
So you have to put Control Shift Plus.
That doesn't work on Excel, it works online. Open up a news story or something, directions or.
Must be where I remember it from, because that Control Plus sure seems, like I say, it doesn't work at all here, but.
No, it becomes insert.
Right. Now, we're under the View tab, and how to go back to the Home tab is you just simply click the Home. Now, these tabs across the top will come and go. Some of them are there all the time, like the Home is always there. If you drop in a picture, you'll see a new tab up there. I think it says Design. Some of you saw that in the Microsoft Word class. So don't think it'll always just say those ones you see across there. It varies. The file here, this contains information that allows you to interface with your computer to a flash drive, so forth. It allows you to print. So this is kind of your interface to the other hardware. So that's what you can think of this as. The Home has a lot of formatting, and I have no clue why they call it Home. It has some other items besides formatting on it. The Insert. This is where you want to insert something. That's pretty obvious, the insert name there. Page Layout is how you want to lay out the page. Formulas is if you're going to put formulas in your document. So they're trying to make these meaningful in terms of the names, except for Home. I'd almost think I would have named this like the Format tab, because that's probably 90% of what's on this is formatting. Okay. I'm going to double click this and change it to sales. I'll click A1 and type January in there. And at any point, if you have troubles, holler at me. I wish I could see everybody's computer. Oh, the other sheet? Oh, down there. Yeah.
It's reversed.
I screw up so much, I got that Control Z memorized, so I can just do it real fast. Some of you have heard some kind of disorder I'm having. I mentioned it before, where I just start right-clicking, just by when I'm sitting there. Anybody heard me talk about that? It's driving me crazy because I'll be sitting there and I'll be like scrolling and I'll keep right clicking for some reason. I don't know if it's an angle that my arm is at or what. That's why I have to do Control Z a lot and escape. Okay, so you should have January in here now. If you click that cell, this Home tab has some useful information in it. It allows us to change the font. You see where it says Calibri, if I'm saying it, however you say it. There's a little drop-down arrow to the side of it. If you do that drop-down arrow, it'll come up with all the different fonts you can choose. Algerian, Arial, Baskerville. If you have brought your own computer in, you may not have the same fonts as this. So don't stress about that. I'm going to choose Algerian. You may have more. I don't know. But I'm going to choose Algerian. And you see it changes what it looks like. Now, when we did the zoom just changes so you can see it better. It doesn't actually change the real size of it. Over here, you see to the right of it, there's a line that says 11. This is actually the size of it. So if I do the drop down next to that, I can choose, for example, 18. And that'll change the size of just that one piece of text right there. Sometimes you don't know what you want. And over here, there's an increased font size to the right of that, and there's a decreased font size. So you can come over here, and you can just keep clicking the increased font size until you get it where you want. I guess there is a limit. 72. Maybe that's how big I want it. If you're trying to, probably more you do this in Word, but if you're trying to create a document you're going to put on a bulletin board, you want to make it big so they can see it. So, maybe you would want it that big. If I do the one right beside it, that'll make it smaller, and keep making it smaller. I guess there's a limit on how small it can be. Okay, put it back to 18. Now, right below that is a B. This is for bold. And so if you click that, it'll make it bold. If you want to take the bold off, you click the B again. So it puts bold on, takes it off. Right to the side of it is an I for italics, and it's even italicized. If you click that, italicizes it. You can do mixtures of these. You can make it bold and italics. Right to the side of that is the underline. And you might say, well, why do I want to underline it? There's already lines there. These are lines just for your viewing purposes. When you go to print, those are not going to print. So that's why maybe you'd put your own underline under there. Shut that off. Okay. And that's true. See this drop-down arrow here? Anytime you have a drop-down arrow, that means there's more options. So if I do that drop-down, here's an underline and, like you said, double underline. And that's useful if you're, well, there's another way to do double underline, but that's if you're have like a spreadsheet where you're totaling and you want somebody to look at it and see you're totaling. I think, isn't that universal? Double means total. Yeah. But you can choose that, and that'll do the double underline. Like I say, there's a better way to do that because this is mainly for just single text. Oops, keep clicking around one. There we go. Now, this is the one I was talking about, the better one. To the right, you see where it says BID, and to the right at there's like a little white square. And mine says bottom border. Yours might say something different. If you choose the drop-down arrow next to it, This is where you can tell it what you want to do. I'll put a bottom border, top border, left border, right border, thick outside borders. If you choose the bottom border and then click off of that cell, it's a little hard to see, but there's a border there. Let me come here and choose the double or thick bottom border. It's a little bit better. I did double border. It still didn't show up real great on mine. Now, to change how it appears, down here at the bottom, there's a line style. And mine is set to the thinnest line. So what I did, I just put my mouse over the line style down here, I think. Let's see, it just pop up. Yeah. And then you can choose a different line style. It's still not showing real great. I pressed escape there. I don't know what I went into. Line style. The what? Oh, this is the draw borders. Never mind. Right. This would draw it. Which is fine if you wanted to line color automatic. If you want to draw your own borders, it has a lot of power, but I didn't mean to show that at the beginning of Excel. So yeah, that feature down there, I didn't read it close. The draw borders. This allows you to draw your own, so you don't have to individually pick each one and put a border on it. You can also erase the borders by clicking whichever one to get rid of them. Or you can hold down and just drag it around. Well, maybe not. There it goes. And then escape will just get you out of that draw borders. Anytime you're in anything you're not quite sure of, try escape. That's always a good option in a Windows package to top left. Now to the side of it is a little paint bucket, I guess what that is. It says fill color. And if you do the drop down, if you choose this, it'll put a background color in that cell, whatever one you have selected. Now this was a new version of Excel where you can put your mouse over it, and without selecting it, it would show you what it looks like. So as you keep moving that around, you can choose the color you want. And I like that right there. Now that I've changed the background color, though, does everybody get their background color changed? If you didn't, holler. I need to exercise. Yeah, it's obvious. Too many donuts. You'll notice that it doesn't go all the way over. That's because when you type in text that overlaps the width of that cell, of that column, it'll do that. Well, there's different ways you can change this. This is kind of tricky. That's why I think they provide different options for it. You see up here, there's an A and there's a B. If you put your mouse on the A, it becomes a black drop down arrow or a black arrow. On B, it becomes a black arrow. If you put your mouse exactly in between, on that border between A and B, it becomes a line with an arrow on each side. When that becomes a line with an arrow on each side, you hold down your left mouse button and move it to the right, and then let up, and that'll resize your column.
Double click.
Yeah.
How do you get the color in there?
Oh, no, that's good.
I need a double click.
Believe it or not, each workshop I hold, I learn new things myself. Somebody says, well, did you know you could do that? It's like, oh, I didn't know that. So don't hesitate on those.
Whatever you have clicked on, you clicked on the whole column of B. Anyway, it's,
I say it's kind of tricky because if you're not quite on it, and you click and hold down, and it's hard to move sometimes. Now, as you pointed out, if while it's a line with an arrow on each side, if you double click on it, what that'll do is it'll change the size of your column, and it'll be specific to whatever you have in it. So it'll look for the longest text in that column, and it'll make it that wide. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Because I'll have like a top, I'll have a title, and the title is 10 words. And then all of the numbers down here are about this wide. And I want my column to be that wide. So I go up there and double click on it, not even thinking about it. And it sees that title up there, and it resizes it to the size of the title. To show that to you, in A2, click in A2, and type some kind of sentence. The dog ran fast today and yesterday and tomorrow. I think there's somebody, an English teacher in here that's just cringing right now. I can figure who it was. Did he learn English at all? Okay, so this is a lot of words here, isn't it? If I double click between A and B now, see how it adjusts it toward my longest text, which isn't necessarily what I want. I'll put that back. Well, like I say, they provide a lot of different ways of doing this. Up here on the A, if you right click, so on your mouse button, you have a left mouse button and you have right mouse button. If you right click on the A, you'll see a column width. So if you're the type of person who likes to control everything with numbers, you maybe like this feature. So if you choose the column width, and once my mouse comes down here, I'm left mouse clicking on it. So I know it's kind of weird. You right mouse click on it to get the menu to pop up, and then you left mouse click to choose the column width. Then you can type in whatever number you want. Maybe I want it to be 15.12. And I don't know what those represent, pixels if I had to guess, but obviously not inches or centimeters. Well, it might be centimeters. I don't know. No, it's 2.54 centimeters, 1 inch, isn't it? Yeah. Obviously not centimeters. And then you click OK, and it'll change the size of it. Now that's kind of nice because if you want it to be precise, you want every column to be exactly the same width, then you can use that to make them all exactly the same. Me, I'm happy just resize them, double clicking on them, and getting them to look roughly the same. Questions on?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, the first way you put cursor between A and B and what?
I just held I clicked with my left mouse button and held down, and then I started moving my mouse.
Oh.
And that way you can change it to wherever you want. Second way is you actually double click between those, and that'll resize it to the longest text
Double click A.
between A and B when it's that black line with 2 arrows on each side, or 1 arrow on each side.
I double click on the line between B. Yes.
And then third way is you just right click on it, and then you left mouse click on column width, and you type in whatever you want the column width to be. Now there's similar options between the rows. So that if I wanted this to be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, you come over here, you put your mouse, I'm over here between the 1 and 2 on the far left side. You put your mouse between the 1 and 2 and it becomes a horizontal line with an arrow on each side. If you click and hold down here, then you can change that.
January stays bottom.
It does, but we'll see later on there is a way to change the alignment on it. You can put it top, bottom, center.
One and the 2. Eight needs to go there. Right, it goes right there, it drags the whole. Okay.
And keep in mind, you can't mess anything up. You know, if you're at work, unless you screw it up and then you save, then you can. But we always have the undo. So if I don't like what I just did, you come up here and you click this undo. And it'll undo what you just did. Now also, I think, and I don't use the row very much on this, but I think if you double click it, I think it does the same as column automatically. Does the best fit.
How do you get all of the column
But you're down here.
1 through 10? It's all be the same height.
Actually, I'll show that in just a second. Now, if I right click on column 1 here, you see there's a row height. Just like we had a column width, there's a row height, and you can type in a number if you want. So I could type in 27.113. I right clicked on number 1. And then I then left clicked on row height. And I type in a number and click OK.
Say that again.
I right click on the 1 over here on the far left. And then when it pops up, you see there's a row height down here.
Okay.
And you left mouse click on it.
Okay.
And then you type in whatever number you want. Like, let's say I wanted this 30.1. And then I click OK. And that'll automatically change the height of that row to whatever number you put in. Now the question was, well, what? I don't want to do that if I let's say I have 100 rows. I don't want to do that 100 times. That's kind of tedious. Now notice when I this January here, if I click the 1, it selects the entire row. If I click with my left mouse button on the 1 and I hold down and drag my mouse down, So again, I'm clicking on the one with my left mouse button, holding down and dragging down. You see it selects a bunch of rows. Now, if I come here and I click between like 3 and 4 or 1 and 2, 2 and 3, it does not matter where. If you click and hold down and resize, it resizes every one of those rows.
Wow. Click on that. Put your left button. Yeah, that's what I was like.
Down between your, yeah, there. Left mouse button, hold down, or you did your right mouse.
That happens and you don't know how it happened. But you hit Control Z.
And you click the left mouse button, hold down, and drag. Lift it up. And it does all of them.
That's right. I don't want it that big.
Okay.
I lost my first.
Put between any of the two numbers when it comes to black arrow. Left mouse, hold down, or click on left mouse button, that you can just escape. Then click with the left mouse button, hold down and drag. Right down. Let up.
Yeah.
It'll read every one. And that throws you at first because oh wow, I just messed it completely up. But again, Control Z just undoes it. So if you ever do it by accident, and that's oftentimes where people have it, they'll do it by accident. It's like, oh, you know, everything's messed up.
I'll put in there as a kid.
Yeah, my wife calls me in because she's done things like that. So, have you done Control Z? It's like, yeah, I tried that. You need to come in here. Get up. Now, you can also, assuming your rows are still highlighted, right-click on it. And I right-clicked on 2, but you could right-click on 5, any of the rows you have highlighted. And you see there's a row height. And I'll change that to 15.6 or whatever you want. And click OK. That's a little bit better control because when you're just grabbing it and moving it down, you're not quite sure maybe how it's going to look. So maybe that can give you exact what you want to do. Now my January is still not quite right. I could double click. If I put my mouse between the 3 and the 4, what becomes that horizontal line with an arrow on each side, if I double click on that, then it'll do the best fit for each row individually. You notice that my height for January is different than this row. So it's kind of a nice feature. Where's your January done? Oh. Come over here, and between, go down a little bit, it becomes a horizontal line. Oh, you got that zoom. Cancel that. And then double click. Yeah, perfect. Now I'm gonna go back to January, and I did the little paint bucket to do a color behind the scenes. You see the drop down arrow. If I do the drop down arrow, there's also a more colors option. So if you're not happy with the 2, 3, 4, 5, the 50 colors that are there, or 40, or however many, you can go to more colors.
this one, I'll put it, I hit that down. And come down to colors.
And you can choose whatever color you want within this spectrum. I think there's 256 for each red, green, and blue. So 256 times 256 times 256, whatever that is number-wise. That's how many color possibilities there are. There's also
We have a hexagon, and they have a.
you have the standard tab chose up here, and if you choose custom, I think it'll go down to here.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's also a bar over here where you can change the different colors. To be honest, I couldn't tell you much about this because I don't do custom colors. I'm happy with the default 40 colors that are there. I create me so I need to keep track because my memory's not so good. I need to know where I'm supposed to be and so forth. So I got these little calendars I create, and I have different colors for like some volunteering I do. I have a different color. Church I have a different color. The class is a different color. So that helps me keep. And my wife has me print it off. She wants to know where I'm at. It drives her crazy when she thinks I'm gonna be gone for the day and I'm actually home. It's just like, I need a schedule. Give me a schedule. And so that's why you use colors. There's also a no fill here if you want to get rid of the color. So that's how you can to do that. I like the color, so I'm gonna leave it there. Now this one next to it is a font color. And you see there's a drop down to it. Again, you can choose the different colors here. And you can change those. Depending upon what you do, that isn't always a good idea. I helped an individual with his resume the other day, and he used a template that he downloaded from Microsoft and had his name on the side. And I thought it was a little light, because I like things in my face. I like it bright. I have trouble seeing, but I didn't say anything, and I helped him, what wording and so forth. And he went off they had an HR person come in there, and they said, first off, don't use it with your name on the side. So, because when I guess an employer looks at it, they like that right up front so they can easily see your name. So, and then they also didn't like how dim it was. So you run into risk when you change that to make it a point where somebody can't see it. Now, if you're the only one, then it doesn't matter. And as before, you see there's more colors down here, but same type of deal. I'm going to choose a color. What goes good with green? Blue? Okay. Yeah, blue goes good, doesn't it? Yellow? Mine doesn't go. I like blue better. Okay, so I'll choose that blue there for the font. Okay. Now, I've put a lot of effort I've spent some time here to get this look just right. I got the perfect font, got the perfect size, perfect colors. Whatever colors you have is wrong. Mine's perfect. And I want to use this again. January is going to be my first column. So in B1, so I'll click in B1. I'm going to type February. And I won't put anything in C1 yet. February looks pretty bad compared to January, doesn't it? This is, I don't know when they added this into Microsoft products, but this is one of the coolest features ever, in my opinion. If you click A1, up here you see there's one that says Format Painter. If I click Format Painter and then click B1, it'll apply that all those changes I made to my new cell. First I click A1, and then I click the Format Painter button here. That's up here in the upper left. A paintbrush, yeah. Depending upon how much screen space you have, it'll get rid of words. Sometimes just have the little icons. Then after you click that Format Painter, you click your new cell or cells, and it'll copy the formatting.
Click that. Yeah, let's go back. You got this whole thing. Keep going back. Keep going back. There, we're back. There you go. Now, I did good work.
That's a perfect example of the benefit of undoing. You can't mess anything up. You just keep undoing it and go back to where you were.
Now click on anyone. Check.
Yeah.
Now you should.
See the paintbrush? Yours doesn't actually say it.
Oh, that.
That one there. And they click there.
Now, I got February and March. Do I click on here? Do I click on?
You can. Click on anyone. Or go on Escape. I click A1. There you go. Now click your Format Painter. And now click B1. Now patterns is everything, and I was wrong. Maybe I don't. This isn't. It's kind of big, but that's okay. Patterns is everything in Excel. We're going to see that a lot over these coming classes. This is January, February. What should next month be? March, April, so forth. You know that, right? Well, Excel will sometimes assume patterns. It knows. And that's the beauty of it. You don't have to type in March, April, May, and so forth. If you click January, so you click A1, hold down your left mouse button, and move over to February. So they're both highlighted. Sometimes you don't have to do this. Sometimes you just do a fill and it'll automatically sense it. Now in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little square. And if I put my mouse down there, it becomes a black plus. And I click and hold down and drag over. It'll fill in my months.
Isn't that amazing? Then you have to size you.
No, that's fine. We'll actually change the font size right now. But yeah, you can.
One of those people could get done so fast.
Now sometimes, now you can, instead of doing the arrows, click in the gray area right here, it'll quickly go. It'll quickly go. Although I think you had it before. Sometimes it's smart and can recognize patterns. We're going to see a lot about the patterns on it. Sometimes it's not so good. I'm going to plug in my computer real quick.
you say you make all these month columns for size?
Let's take a look at that now, because now they're all over the place, aren't they? I got some that different size than others. If you click on the A and hold down with your left mouse button and drag over, you can select whatever columns you want. I say whatever columns because you may have went over further than me, you may have went less columns than me, but you want to go over to where you have all your months. If you want the best fit, you just double click. You put your mouse between like B and C or between A and B when it's a vertical line with an arrow on each side. If you just double click, then it'll resize each one based upon the best fit. This is what I was talking about. See how I don't want this to be the same size as this one, but it assumes that automatically? So now to do this, if I resize this right now and move it, it'll redo all of them, which might be okay. If I move that back, does that? February isn't big enough though, is it?
Do you release your mouse before you do
I up here I hold down my left mouse button and I move it to where I want, and then I release.
that? Okay. And now I've got to get them the same size.
Right. Now, if you want them all the same size, a very easy way to do that is if you have all the columns selected, you right-click on it, on C or B or A, and then you choose column width. And so if I want them all to be 17.75, I can type that in and click OK. When you're designing a spreadsheet, you don't tackle it like each one individually. You first like work on a little piece. You get all the fonts right, you get all the formulas right, and then you fill it, and the pattern fills over. And we're going to see a lot about that pattern. Now notice, mine still doesn't look good because I would like them to be centered. Over here in this next little box, under the Home tab, is alignment. And there's different types of alignment: top alignment, middle alignment, bottom alignment. Remember, for those who are in Word class, where you asked me how to vertical align, I said I had no clue and I had to go look it up and tell you the next class. It's built in Excel, so it's kind of assumed that you're going to change the alignment, so it's a lot more easy to use in that regard. But the one I want is this on this bottom here. It says center. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to choose my center. Unfortunately, on some of your computers, you're not seeing some of this text. You're just seeing an icon. Like on the Format Painter over here, you just had a paintbrush, and some of the rest of you had paintbrushes too. That's because it won't show the words if there isn't space on your screen. I don't know why my computer's different up here than everybody else's. But you notice if you put your mouse over, it pops up telling you what it is. So there's center. Here's the line left. That would be line left. Here's a line right. Put them on the right side. Center. The vertical and all that wouldn't apply very much here because we have our row height set kind of really compact. Everybody get their centering done, or however you want to align it? Now at this point, maybe I'd want these to be some kind of border on there. So I could come over here and choose that option. Under the, see where it says bid, bold, italics, underline? What's D stand for? I do the drop down here for borders, and you can choose the bottom double border, maybe. I don't see a double there, but My eyes aren't that great either.
You go over the one to do that?
I'm gonna choose thick bottom border. See, I don't think that's changing very much, is it? Is yours changing?
You have to go over cursor on the one, hover over on the one.
Huh, mine just isn't changing very much.
You can put squares too. One each left.
See, I thought there was a way to put really thick borders on these. I must be missing something. See, the thickest one just doesn't look very thick to me. Oh well. By the way, if you scroll to the right, this scroll down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you can do this arrow to go back, or you can click in the gray area to quickly go over. There's shortcuts to go to the very bottom of your sheet and very top of your sheet. Let's see, I was trying to think how to go to the bottom. Control End. Put something down here. Yes, Control End. So if you need to go to the clear to the bottom of your sheet, if you have a big worksheet, Control End will go to the bottom right-hand corner. Really? That's weird.
Now, if I do control bottom arrow, I get all the way down to, I stay in the same column, but I go down to 104, 8576.
Part of it is if you've made any changes, but I don't know why it's going to the far end because you wouldn't have made any changes to the far right. So that's weird. I don't know. And then somebody mentioned this earlier. Control Home will go to the top left. So if you're wanting to go clear up the top, somehow you get way off down there. I come down here and I do a Control Home. It'll go back up to A1. Assuming I have something in A1.
Oh, yeah.
Do you hear any kind of electronic whining or something like that? Is it? I think I hear something. Yeah. Could be. I always wonder if you hear any things, if you're the only one. You know, every once in a while I hear voices, in class, and I'm always afraid to ask, because then if nobody says, "Oh, we don't hear anything," that isn't good. Well, it's kind of it's like, yeah. I swear it's like right above me here somewhere. Now, if you select your months again, you see up here there's a like a little A B with a line underneath it. And if you put your mouse over it, it says orientation. And there's a drop down arrow right next to it. If you do the drop down arrow, you see there's a angle clockwise, vertical text. If I choose vertical text, pretty bizarre. But again, we never can mess anything up because, well, I shouldn't say never, but mostly because we can do an undo, can't we? Now, if I go back and do the drop down again, you see there's rotate text up, rotate text down, angle clockwise. Do you have your do you have them selected?
Oh, yeah, select the A.
Right, through whatever. I got selected A1 through whatever I had. Now at that point, I could double click between the columns, resize them, and maybe I can fit more on my screen. You do counterclockwise like that. Double click.
Huh.
Is there some advantage to doing the double clicking as well as column click and type instead of? So they all accomplish the same thing.
They accomplish the same thing. Yeah. Mine just keeps getting messed up because this text right here is messing me up. And so that's why it's not doing quite what I want. No, you're right. Like if I didn't want this text right here to control it, and I'm leaving it there for a reason because I want to show how one piece of text can mess it all up. You're right. Right clicking on this and choosing your well, I didn't have selected this.
No, I mean across the top.
Yeah.
Using the format.
Oh, up. Oh, here. You mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just a more user-friendly way. This is probably a lot easier to use, but not everybody has it. That's one of the features they added in one of the new versions. And pretty much everything, like you see, there's an also an insert here. Right. So, like if you're deleting a cell, well, I told you to press delete, but you can come up there and do the delete, and yeah.
Vertical text, it changes it. There you go.
There we go. We get their text rotated in some form? No? Oh, you're fine. So you did it just for one cell, and that's fine. But if you click here and hold back the left mouse button and drag over, so go ahead and select those. Click at A1. Okay, where it's click down the left mouse button, drag to the right. And now we choose that AB with line underneath it, arrow next to it.
Oh, that.
Hold on. then choose like angle clockwise or counterclockwise, whatever. Change that. Why would you do that? Get more fit on the screen. And that's why oftentimes you may have it vertical. Not that anybody wants to turn their head to read your text, but if you're trying to get it fit on one page, then I hate multiple pages on a lot of documents because then you're having to flip back and forth, and there's ways around that. But I still like it all on one page if I can. So like if I had the vertical text here, and then if I spent some time, like I said, I didn't have them all selected. Remember, I can do the Format Painter to apply it. I'm not sure if I like that at all. So it looks like one of those word searches. Oh, did it really? Find arm. Okay, I'm going to do a Control Z. I lie. I guess that vertical is. Okay. Now, over here, it deals some with numbers, which we'll add here shortly. And then there's some more formatting we're going to take a look at to the right of that. Now we put our titles on there. Click an A2, and I got this weird text in there. I'm going to put a number in there. $13.15. And then I pressed enter. It automatically goes down to the next one, and I'll put $15.17. $3.13, $4.53. So we put some numbers in there. If you click whichever one it's applied to formatting to, you didn't want it. If I click A2, for example, over here to the far right in the Home tab is an editing option. And if you choose the drop down under Clear, you see there's a Clear Formats. Editing is the far right over here. And if you don't see the text on your screen, you're looking for the one that's like a red eraser or red something. Maybe that's a marker. If you do the drop down next to it, there's a Clear Formats. And if you apply the Clear Formats, that'll clear away any formatting that's been done. You highlight cells first, and then choose that option. Now, if you don't do the drop down and you just choose Clear, sometimes it'll clear your text too. So you have to, do a Control Z and make sure you do the drop down and choose just Clear Formats. You notice mine, when I applied it to this, it got rid of the centering that I had on there. So that's why it clears everything away except for just your base text, base data you put in there. Okay, I'm gonna center that again. So I'll click the center here to center that. Now let's say we want to add these numbers together. This is a spreadsheet I'm creating for my organization, and they're going to put in the petty cash withdrawals. And so down here then, this is where I want to put my total. So if I click down here, and I clicked an A7 on mine, just somewhere below your numbers. Over here, like I say, there's a lot under this Home tab. You see there's an auto sum feature. And if you click the auto sum, it tries to guess what to add together. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You see mine says equals sum, beginning parentheses, A2 colon A6, closing parentheses. It tried to guess what I wanted to sum, and that's good. Remember our cell conventions, the naming of them? You know, the intersection of A2 and down to the intersection of A6. So that'll be all the cells in between them. That's what that colon represents. If you're happy with what you have, you just simply press enter, and that'll add them together. Now, you might say, well, big deal. I got a calculator I can do that with. Well, the idea on this is you save the spreadsheet, you bring it up. If you have a different amount here, you just type in 1753 and press enter. You notice it automatically updates your total. In this manner, you don't need to keep re-adding it on the calculator. I pick on my wife all the time. I shouldn't, because she's the financial genius of the family. But she's got this little ledger at home where she keeps track of bills in. And I accuse her of being like Al Capone's accountant, you know, with all these secret codes and everything. And that's what it looks like. You know, it's just like she's carrying this around. And I say, you can put this on Excel, and then it would automatically add it for you. She has her little calculator out, and she's adding them together. But she loves that. This is an electronic version of that, so that when you make a change, it will automatically do your sums for you. It'll add the numbers and everything. That's a main idea on it, versus just what's the benefit of this versus just a regular calculator. Okay, so now let's say I'm happy with this. Maybe I want to give this a different color, so I mark it as total. So I come up here, I click A7. Remember how we can change the color. If I do the background in a little paint bucket, and I make it yellow, that way I can specify what to work with. This is important if you're working with somebody. I don't think I have my flash. No, I do have my flash drive. This is a spreadsheet I created for some students. And it'd be if I had to do this over, I'd do it a little bit different. But I wanted them to just type numbers in certain areas. So I made them yellow. And then I told them when I posted the spreadsheet, I say only change the numbers in yellow. Now I can lock down these other cells. I just didn't want to go to that kind of effort. But as they put these numbers in, it updates all this. If I put in that, it'll update all these over here. This is a calculation that if I were to do it by hand and redo all this, it would probably take me 5 minutes for each change. So that's the power of the spreadsheet, is you want to set it up such that it's changed numbers and the totals get updated over here. Okay, now I'm happy with this. It's totaling. And if I click A7, you see up here in this little bar, it says equals sum, beginning parentheses, A2, colon, A6, closing parentheses. That's what I mentioned earlier. That's called a formula. And it's specific to this column, isn't it? It says A2, colon, A6. I'm going to fill this over to the right because I want it for each month. So down here, you should have A7 selected. If you put your mouse in the bottom right-hand corner, it becomes a black plus. And if you click with your left mouse button and hold down and drag to the right for however many months you have, and then lit up, it'll fill in all those across. And as you indicated, they're all zero because we don't get any numbers in those, do we? But if I come over to February, like I click in B2 and I put, maybe somebody came with petty cash and got $8.23. So I put that in. It updates my total down below. Maybe somebody comes in and gets $1.17. It updates it down there. 353. It updates it. Again, this is part of the patterns I mentioned on Excel. And I'll show you that here in just a second. Did everybody get their formulas filled to the right? Now, if you click B7 or whatever your formula is, you may not be in the same row as me. And if you look up here, and I know it's kind of small, but if I click here, it'll put it down here. See where it says equals sum, beginning parentheses, B2, colon, B6, closing parentheses? As I filled to the right, it automatically adjusted it based upon what column it was in. So it does that automatically for you. I clicked B7. Yeah, and then I clicked up here to the right of the formula here. And this is really the power of why would you use Excel versus Word? Because Word has tables in it. You could do all of this. But this gives you a lot more, recognizes patterns better. It allows you to do formulas. There's a lot of other stuff too, charts and so forth. But if I press escape, that formula will disappear and put the number back. Now, those aren't really dollar signs, are they? So if you're the type of person who likes dollar signs, there's formatting for numbers up here. So if you highlight your numbers, and I'm just going to do the first column here, but you could highlight all of your rows. Remember how to select rows is you click the 2 and you hold down to the left mouse button and drag down, and this would select everything in those rows. But you highlight whatever in whatever manner, and then you see there's a general up here. We're going to talk more about that, but that's just the type of data it is. If you do the drop down next to it, you see the currency, accounting, short date. So if you're in accounting, you want an accounting format, whatever that means. I'd have no clue. Then you choose accounting. I guess accounting puts a dollar sign on the far left and puts a number on the far right. I don't know if it does it put the negative numbers in red. Oh, no, it puts parentheses on them. Then, if you do the drop down, you can choose whatever type you want. Some of them doesn't make any sense. Like if you try to change that to time, it's going to give you garbage. I'm guessing. It'd give you just your dollar signs like you'd expect. All right. There's also a more number formats. You can do whatever you want formatting wise on this. And I'd have to review a little bit before I could show you how to do that. But if you choose the more number formats, you can come down here to the custom, and you can create your own formatting. Like if I wanted it to have $2 signs, you put $2 signs on there. Yeah, if you are curious about that, I will go in more detail in future classes on that. I'd have to, like I say, refresh my own memory. But I'm going to do the drop down, and I'm going to go back to currency. Now, there's also down here, if you do the drop down next to this dollar sign, you can have English, United States, English, United Kingdom, Euro, Chinese, French. There's more accounting formats. So if you're in accounting or been an accountant at one point in time, you probably know a lot more about than I do. But that just puts, I don't know. Yen? Is that a yen or that's a pound there, right? In Chinese, I don't know if that's a yen or.
I'll see. So, change it to.
Now this to the right of it is percent style, which probably doesn't make any sense when we entered. I put in 17.53, but if I click that, 17.53 gives me 1,753%. Because it's assuming you're putting in decimal format, so it's moving the decimal point 2 places for you. I'm going to go back to currency. Now realize as we're changing this, we're not changing the data at all. We're changing how it looks. So the base number you put in is still there. Sometimes, and I know especially you've downloaded statistics from the web, and it may come in and look really weird. If it looks really weird, you come over here and you clear out whatever the formats are there, and that gets you back to your base data. But I think I tried that on yours, and it didn't go back to the base data. They took it completely out? Yeah, do a undo. Right, and uplift. And it's back. This is if you like commas in there. I show this in college algebra because I show exponential growth for compound interest. And it'll get really large after a period of time. So I want commas in there so we can see what is millions, where's the billions, and so forth. This is if you want to show more decimal places or less. So if you choose this will add more decimal places. If you want less, it'll choose this. And it just does standard rounding. So if you're in a place where you have to round and you're not very good at it, Excel's your best friend. You can just put a number in here and choose this, and it'll round it appropriately. Now, I haven't mentioned this, but we're probably at the point now where it's good to mention it. You see it across the bottom, it says clipboard, font, alignment, number, styles, cells, editing. Some of these, like especially the number, has in the bottom right-hand corner some kind of symbol. It's like a square with an extra arrow. That means that there's more options, more you can do. So if you choose that, this will pop up with a lot more options. You see there's alignment. Did you feel like we had very much control over January and February? We could do counterclockwise, clockwise, but maybe we want more control. You see how there's orientation on the text? This is where you can put it at whatever angle you want. Right. So, for example, I close that. If I wanted to change January, February, March to be more of an angle or less of an angle, if I highlight those, again, I left mouse click and drag and bring it over. I come up to, and you could choose any one of these, but if I go directly to alignment, you see how there's an option here where you can change the orientation. You can tell how many degrees. You can have it go up more. If you like total control, you can type whatever angle you want in here. I want it at 63 point. I'm not sure if it does decimals. We'll try it. 63.5 degrees. Click OK. Enter. Enter is not valid. I guess it doesn't like decimals. So 63 degrees. I didn't think we had much control with the clockwise and counterclockwise. If I'm going to rotate my text, that's actually where I'm going to go to manipulate it. Yeah. And again, when you click this, you see across the top there's number, alignment, font, border. These correspond with your different options across here. I don't know if there's anything extra you can do font-wise. Strike through, superscript, subscript, underline, double accounting. If you click one of these and then choose the font tab across the top. You remember how I talked how I could lock those cells down, but I was too lazy to do it? I didn't say lazy, but that's really the gist of it. You see protection here. This is where you can lock your cells and so forth. You can hide them. So if I don't want them to actually change those ones, then this. I've never had any problem with that. I've never had the students call me back and say, I clicked in another area and screwed the spreadsheet up, because they just download it again if they messed it up. But that's something you have to think about. If you're creating a spreadsheet for somebody in your organization, somebody in your club, and you want them to use it, you want to dummy-proof it. You don't want them to mess it up and then call you and say, hey, I need you to come in. Well, I'm on vacation now. We got to get this fixed. And no, you want to make it so they can't do that.
So you would lock in the totals and the months, everything else open?
Exactly, because you wouldn't want them to change this. So you'd lock this, and then I'd have to actually, here it is, protect workbook. So after you mark them that way, you have to come over here and actually protect it.
They can still change the numbers.
They can still change the numbers. They just can't come down here, because if they come down here and they start typing numbers down here, then it messes up the totals. And when they change something here, it won't get updated there. And if they don't realize that, then they're maybe reporting this to the government saying, hey, okay, yeah, we took $99 out of petty cash, and it's like doesn't add up to this. Okay. See ya. Oh, okay. Let me see. Probably don't have really time to get into those. Is there any questions on that so far?
You can click over there in the far left, click on one, and change the angle of all of them, right?
Right. If you have this entire row selected, and then you go to your alignment and choose something, and then click OK, it'll change them all that. And but nice part about that is that I can why it doesn't do that. Oh, I don't got the columns all selected. What am I thinking? I had the row selected. Okay. See, now it's very compact. Although part of it's off the screen now, but we haven't talked about it yet, but there's ways to insert columns and so forth, so you can scoot it over type of deal. And it might even print okay, I don't know. 1 minute. Is there anything I can cover in 1 minute? That's probably good enough for the first day. Questions on anything? Now we'll play with this some more, so go ahead and save it. Another way to save it is up here in the upper left-hand corner. See how there's a little diskette? Diskettes don't hardly exist anymore, but that's a save. So anytime you see that in any computer package, then that's how you save. So if you click that, And now if you go do a file close, then it'll close that document. It doesn't matter. What I said was stupid. I just didn't. I was hoping to notice, but I thought I'd point it out myself. What do you think the odds are that you're going to have that same computer next time? For those of you that brought your computer, you'll have it, right? But everybody else, you'll have somebody else's spreadsheet, or none at all, because I'll be grabbing a different one out of there. So it was a good idea in theory. So questions on anything? Well, we're officially done with the class today. It's 1:30 to 3:30. If you do have any questions on anything, though, on anything in Windows, I'll stick around. I don't got anything after now, so I'll go over any topic you want.
Tell me something about updating my.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
I don't want to spend $1,000 for a laptop. I don't need.
Okay. I'm gonna go to Best Buy. Are you a patient person?
Sure. I went and
Okay.
looked one time, but the lady that was there really didn't know.
They don't know anything there.
Now, and I thought, well, maybe what I'm looking for.
See, if I click products, and let's see, I'm probably looking at there's computers and tablets, and you're talking laptop.
Yeah.
Okay, go to laptop.
Mine's an 8 brand.
Okay, yeah, choose PC. I like HPs. PC laptops here. It pops up. And this is what I often do. Some of these brands I don't know about, so I'm not a risk taker. So I come over here and I click HP. Now I asked if you were a patient person for a reason. There's a options over here. Depending upon if you like to wait or not. Like if you click Word and it takes 5 minutes for it to come up in your computer, and you don't, yeah, if you don't like that long, the SSD hard drive is very quick. I don't have one yet. Students tell me they love it. I was reading about this last weekend. I'm about ready to make because I don't like to wait. When I click on something, I want it up. I don't want to wait 2 minutes for it to load and so forth. This SSD is a very quick loading for your applications. It's more expensive. The hard drive I was looking at was $220, and so I'm still kind of really want, am I patient for $220, and so balancing the two. But if you just want a normal hard drive, then that's just HDD. But let me choose the SSD because let's see what speed looks like. Narrows it down. And you see that you're still not looking at real expensive ones. Now, i3 is kind of on the slow side, but if all you're going to do is Word and Excel and some very basic operations on your laptop, an i3 wouldn't be bad. Perfect in that I'd choose would be i5s. i7 is kind of the high end. If you're going to do some video editing and so forth, then you definitely want at least an i7. i9 isn't out yet, but you definitely want that. So if I choose i5, go away, I don't need help. See, then you're getting up to the next price category. You're getting some of these, but remember what I chose. I chose SSD, didn't I? So if I really don't want that fast of one, then I can choose that. And you can do sorting here, low to high. I would not buy a refurbished laptop. Refurbished might be just fine. Refurbished, I got a laptop home. There's a scratch on it. I take it back to Best Buy and say this has got a scratch on it. They sell it as refurbished. I may have took the laptop home and it was acting crazy. It just wouldn't work quite right. Took it back to Best Buy, and they think they fixed it, and then they sell it on here, and then you get it and it doesn't work quite right. I got a desktop sitting in there that I ordered refurbished. Powerful machine. And I mean, it does sail. I give it that, but it's refurbished, and every once in a while, it will shut down automatically on me. So, and I don't know enough to fix it yet. So I'm not a real big fan of refurbished because I don't want somebody else's junk. You know, when I go to Best Buy, I look for the box back behind because I don't want the one that's been opened. You know, that's somebody's brought that back and they're trying to pawn that off on me, and I don't got the patience to keep driving back there and getting new machines and so forth. But other people may be happy with refurbished. I mean, it isn't like they don't give you some kind of warranty. They do give you a little bit of warranty on them. So, get down to here. Here's one. Boy, that's a decent price. Solid state drive. That means it's a pretty fast drive. $258. Oh, it's pre-owned? Okay, I didn't see that. I was wondering why it's so cheap, but yeah. Is refurbished, pre-owned.
How do they distinguish between somebody just returned it?
Probably somebody returned it. There was nothing wrong with it. They just didn't want it for whatever reason. Got it as a gift, maybe. They wanted maybe a higher one. And I think sometimes they just tape them up and resell them, especially Walmart. But that's probably the difference if I had to guess. Pre-owned, refurbished. Now you can mark these over on the side, by the way. If you just want new, you click new. Then you get in the, your cheapest one, that's clearance, which I just see nothing wrong with clearance. $524. That's solid state. So that's this one I'd consider a decent computer. So.
8 gig, maybe that kind of.
It's pretty good. Yeah. 4 gig is kind of on the slow side. Although it'll work. And then you get 6 gig is a little bit better, 8 gig. I like 16 gigabyte, but I don't like to wait. I'm not very patient. So that's memory. Now, the difference between this is called RAM. And this helps how fast your program runs. I consider this more important than the 128 gigabytes you see down here. This is your hard drive space. I don't save hardly anything on my computers anymore. Used to be I saved everything. I'd see something on the internet, a PDF file, I'd save it that I'd want. You probably did from education also. And then all of a sudden you have these 10,000 PDFs and you can't, you don't know what's what and so forth. So finally, I just don't do that anymore. If I want something on a programming topic or math topic, I'll just Google it again and download it. There are a few exceptions to that. I teach a class out of Barton in math, and I don't want to search while I'm out there. So I have a bunch of PDF files. These are documents that I found on the internet, worksheets. And so when I go out there, I print them for them to work on. So, but that's why you need hard disk space. The other is RAM. So this 8 gigabyte is how fast your applications run. This is how much you want to store in your desktop or laptop. Does that make sense, the difference between those? Okay. I use flash drives a lot. Keep stuff on flash drives. Little mini hard drive, because then you can unplug it and put it on any computer. Worst part about saving like all of your family pictures on a laptop, Laptop dies, you lost every picture. If you have it on a little flash drive, then you can plug it into a couple of different computers and copy them all off on each one of those computers. And then the odds that like all 2 or 3 computers you have and that little flash drive fails at the same time is non-existent, right? It can happen. Suppose lightning hits your house and destroys every electronic device you have in your house. Okay.
What if you get to a point where there's a flash drive in the computer has changed so much that flash drives don't fit anymore? Like the old that, yeah, even like that.
Yeah.
Or VHS, or the 3.5-inch disc. Then there was the floppy disk before that. Electronic computers. So is that going to happen with flash drives?
Yes. When it'll happen, though, will probably be about 10 to 20 years from now. There's really no good way to say, how to determine when. You'd have to actually probably be looking at Walmart when you go in, look at the computers. Like you won't hardly find those little 3.5 floppies anymore in a computer. I got a bunch of them at home. No place to plug them into. But you're right. At the point where you realize there is none existing anymore, you got these stay saved off and nothing to do with it. What you do is, as you notice a new trend come out, you would plug both of them in, and then you just copy them all over to the new. So, right. And part of that is you just can look and see if the little device is there anymore. If you go down to Walmart and you look at the computer and it's like, I don't see them there anymore. Then, oh, thank you. I did that to Jan.
Thanks.
My eyes are very poor. So for me, there would only be one choice, 16 inch or more. I cannot see those little laptops that are that big. I have to have the biggest one there is. The reason why those of you using a Kali laptop now, why that's so big is I told them I can't teach a program unless you get the biggest laptop there is. Because when I come look over somebody's shoulders, I need to be able to see their screen. And if it's that small one, I can't see. So I'd have to adjust mine here, and that gives me one choice.
Then you also have the touch screen. Like this, I have as a touch screen, but I use a mouse a lot too. It's fun to have that.
Some people love touch screens. I think I'm just too old. I like mice.
Well, for the most part, I do too, but in fact, there are fingerprints all over my screen.
And see, that's the thing of it. I don't know how to clean my screen, so I'm afraid to actually. See, I don't know. I don't know what kind of chemicals are appropriate on them. And I know if you go down to Walmart, Best Buy, they sell the screen cleaners, and that's your best bet. But when I'm at home and I got a smudge on my screen, I'll use like a handkerchief and just kind of wipe it. Because I don't know if you should put water on it. I don't know if you should put this on. That's why I don't like the touch screens. Because, well, my hands are not that clean, I guess. But other things I'd look for, that's probably about it. I'm not very impressed with Best Buy. I think they're the worst. I went. They sold me the wrong computer memory 2 or 3 times. I'd get it from my desktop, and they'd sell me laptop memory, and I'd get home, and it's like, well, this don't fit. And finally, I got to the point I just look it up myself before I go down and buy any, because then I'll tell them exactly what I want. I was down there looking at a computer one time, and there's a lady in front of me, and she said, "Can you help me with these computers?" "Yeah, I can help you." And he went down and read off the label on each computer. It's just like, no, she didn't say she couldn't read. She wanted you to help her. So yeah, there are good people at Best Buy. I shouldn't, knock everybody that works at Best Buy. Yeah.
Is Office Depot better or one of those? Office Max,
You know, I've never went there.
I was just thinking of another big supply place.
I used to say Ribbit would be where you need to go. You get more of that personalized service. But I have to admit, one Ribbit store I went into, they were very disappointing on their knowledge. I like some of their prices, but some of the prices are really high too. They're a lot more expensive than Best Buy. So you'd think that being more expensive, that'd actually be more helpful. The best place in town was in Wichita was Comp USA. Um, in this area, I think Canopla, our sponsor, would be who I would go to. But they you'll pay more. But to me, I don't buy a computer every day. So if I had to pay an extra $100, $150 to get somebody that gives me something that actually works, something that is good, I'll do that. The worst thing is getting the computer that you get home. And for example, the last computer I bought at Best Buy, I got it home, it didn't work. Took it back, and they gave me another one. Just took one off, said sorry. They were really nice. Took it home, didn't work. Did exactly the same thing. And I'm thinking, what's the odds that both of these don't work? And it had to do with a setting on the computer. You couldn't just plug in the keyboard and the mouse, and nowhere in documentation did it say that about setting. I finally went on the internet and Googled and found out what I needed to do. Best Buy should have been able to tell me that. They should have said in this particular model of computer, because I bought a high-end one, a gaming one. Yeah, I didn't talk to their geek squad, that was probably the problem. I talked to the salespeople up front, and yeah. The what?
Dell,
Oh, they worse.
they're terrible. You bought a computer and like every 6 months I had to call them, and every time you called them, it was $100. And by the end of the year, we owed more on repairs than what the computer, we paid on the computer. Yeah, all right.
I'm not very impressed with Dell myself. I bought that for my wife and my stepson and my son, and they're just not very great computers.
No.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
That's why I went to HP.
Yeah.
Do you like Ace?
I don't know. They used to be a cheap brand, and so cheap in my mind means I'm going to have a lot of troubles. I'm going to have to call tech support, and I don't want to do that. But that was quite a few years ago. They've been around a long time now, so they might be very good. So you have pretty good luck with them? Oh, okay. Yeah, you kind of always gauge anybody when they first come out, because they're learning and so forth. So, yeah.
I like the phone computer stuff, so their knowledge. They'll just call you and call them. That's fine.
Yeah.
Or a simple question. They'll show you.
See, I used to rant and rave about Quick Trip. You've gone to Quick Trips before, right? In the Wichita area and so forth. And I'd rant and rave about them. And Casey's the same way, and all of those. Oh, and my wife would have to listen to me, because what they did is they worked with the legislatures in the state of Kansas to pass some, maybe in at the higher level even, but they pushed it so that you'd have to put new gas tanks in. So overnight, they drove out, when they passed that legislation, they drove out all these mom and pop full service stations. And like you say, I like going to full service. Not because I was too lazy to get out and pump it, but I want somebody, and my dad always told me that. He said, go to full service. Yeah, they'll pump your gas for you, and you don't necessarily need that, but you have somebody that knows your name. And so when you have car trouble, you can call them up, and they'll help you. And he was right. And when all those mom and pop outfits went out of business, now there's nobody to call. They're not going to answer any questions at Quick Trip. It's just like, well, why is it overheating? So yeah, sometimes that personalized service is invaluable. Right. That makes a world of difference. You get somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, they'll rack up those bills pretty high on you. Mind you, I've forgiven Quick Trip since. I like going to Quick Trip now, but having that person you can go to with that knowledge, yeah, right. I still have a mechanic down in Mulvane that he's kind of the old school, and he dropped the car off and he fixes it and even leaves the keys in the car. And you're a little worried about that, but nobody's stolen any of his vehicles and so forth, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of Jiffy Lube and some of those Pep Boys when they were in Wichita. I think they're gone out now. Maybe there's one left. I don't know. But good. Yeah, I enjoy these. I learned myself. Take care. See you.